Hi, everybody. Welcome to this version of probability. And in this case, it's going to be probability in real life. What we'll talk about today is probability basics and then take an example from a game show and show how you can use probability to beat the odds from being able to qualify for the final round. So, what we're going to talk about today has to do with probability, chance, odds, but basically probability. And we're going to do some simple probability aspects. Like, for instance, you're driving along, all of a sudden you have an accident. What's the chance that you will have an accident today? Okay, so you're at the airport. You're in a line, you have checked baggages, all of a sudden an alarm goes off. What are the odds that a piece of checked luggage will contain a weapon? I mean, TSA does these types of probability and statistics. Okay, so let's say with all the epidemics and pandemics that are going on, what are the chances? What are the odds? What's the probability that you're in actuality going to be sick? Maybe today, maybe next week, maybe next month. Those are the types of things that we talk about when we talk about probability. So it's something we use every day. We just don't realize we use it. And it's really interesting because as people use probability more and more and apply it, you realize just how much you can lower the risk of doing something that would be considered risky. So, for instance, commuting. If you commute every day and you decide to take a certain route, why would you do that? Would you do that based on traffic experience or the probability that something is going to be closed, a road, a bridge, or whatever else? That's probability. So probability is the amount of a particular outcome divided by the total value of all outcomes. So I just said simply put, but really, is it that simple? Or is it very difficult? Well, let's have an example. Let's say you're a contestant and you have to spin a wheel, and you have to spin it twice in order to get to the final area. You don't have to spin it twice. You can spin it once as long as you come up with a value that's less than 100 or less than $1. So you have a chance to win by spinning the highest score. So the numbers on the wheel include 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way to 100. And basically, they are placed on the wheel in the order that you see here. But that doesn't make any difference with probability. It's still a random order. So you're the first person to spin, you get a 45. Should you keep it or spin again? So basically, every number has a chance of being selected, which means that you have a random number, a random sample. So in this case, though, the tricky part is called replication, because the numbers basically, when you spin again, it doesn't take off that number. It includes that number in the second spin. So that's why they call it random sampling with replication. Now, the question was, if you're a contestant, you have a 45, should you stop there or try your luck? Well, here's what happens. If you have a 45, you don't want to get above $1, so you have to take a calculated risk. And this is what is the consideration as a probability basis, probability outcomes. So you calculate the risk. You have to figure out what numbers, if added to 45, are going to give you over $1 or over 100. So we know, first of all, that there's 20 possibilities on the wheel, period. So that's going to be your bottom number or denominator. The top number is going to be those numbers that will give you above 100. Well, in this case, we're going to go ahead and put those down for you. And that will end up to be 9 numbers, okay? So now you have 9 numbers for the numerator. So this is what it's going to look like. You have F over N, or the frequency of the outcomes over the total outcome. And although that sounds very complicated, actually, if you keep following along, the application is relatively simple. So this is the formula. So you're going to have 9 for F, N is going to be 20. Now, we'll sit back and we'll say, okay, this is what you're going to see as a result of it. And we're going to simplify it into a percentage for readability and for use. So you can have a 9 in the numerator, and you can have a 20 in the denominator. Now we're going to multiply both of those by 5, so you have 45 over 100, or 45%. So what does this all mean? What does the 45%, what is it? Well, what this means is this, is that you have a 45% chance on the second spin to get that number when added to your first number will be more than 100 and therefore disqualify you. But you also have a 55% chance of getting a number that will qualify you because 1 minus 45 is 55, and it's called a complement of the probability. So if 55% acceptable to you, go ahead and spin again. So let's take another example. So let's say if you get a 25 on the first spin, then the numbers that would disqualify you would be 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, and 100. So the denominator would be 20, right? And the numerator would be 6. So what does that give you? 30 over 100, or 30%. So you have only a 30% chance of spinning a second number that would disqualify you from the final round. But it would be 70% chance that you would be qualified. So I would definitely spin again. Probability is that much.